Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and namaskara from all our Bangaloreans from our end. So, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to this joint press conference hosted by ICEA and the Global Semiconductor Alliance (GSA), marking an important step in strengthening India's semiconductor product journey. Today is a defining moment as India steps forward to deeper global linkages, accelerate semiconductor product innovation, and further strengthen its role in global value chains. India Cellular and Electronics Association ICEA is India's leading industry body representing the electronics and smartphone manufacturing ecosystem, championing policies that have helped scale India's electronics production and exports, particularly mobile phones. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are very delighted to have you all with us today. So, Mr. Pankaj Mohindro, Chairman of ICEA, who has been at the forefront of policy, advocacy, and industry mobilization in India's electronics manufacturing journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Pankaj Sir, our CEO, our chairman from ICEA, to join us on the stage. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be a little louder. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. And I also request Miss Jody Shelton to please join us on stage. Please welcome the gorgeous lady on dais with a huge round of applause. You're very beautiful, ma'am. Welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Pankaj Sir, our chairman, to please deliver the welcome remarks.
Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here and welcome, Judy. I You know about ICA and what the journey of electronics has been. It's been very exciting, and we over the last 1 decade, electronic manufacturing has grown about 500%, and mobile phone out of them has grown about 2,800%. Now we are nearly at $150 billion of electronic output. This year, you'll be very happy to know that our exports of electronics, India was never known as a electronic manufacturing nation and our exports will cross about $50 billion. So we are in mobile phones, it will cross about $35 billion. The trajectory is very strong. So what is currently underway is, you see, many things are happening together. The foundational industries which are so important, which Judy will talk about in more detail, which is semiconductors, display, and other foundational industries like cells, uh, PCB, all of that is happening at the moment. The it's very rare in the history of electronics that one nation has trying to take up so much at the same time and also delivering. There are many gaps in our ecosystem. Uh, Beyond mobile phones, where reasonable supply chain has been built, IT hardware is a big area, global area, where you see the servers, laptops, desktops, all of that. It's a very exciting space now with AI. So that ecosystem has to be built in India. Consumer electronics, where the display industry is a very important industry, that is another thing we have taken up. Appliances, air conditioners, another very big area. Then hearable wearables, auto electronics uh, is going to be very big in India. So all of this is, and strategic and defense electronics, all of this is something which ICA is working very closely with the government to build all these ecosystems. Recently, we had the electronic component manufacturing scheme, which was a huge success, a very, very big success. We almost got double the uh, amount. I mean, that has become a challenge now, that the budgeted amount in that scheme, which was about 26,000 crores, is exceeded by twice. So this is the interest and the vibrancy in the industry. and the confidence people have around India. So GSA is a very important body in the US and globally, and they are our characters match because we are very low key. We believe more in outcomes than in projections. That's what ICA has labored always to do. The very important thing is that uh, policy is our forte, and seeing that the industry's aspirations fit into the policy, and we move faster because Prime Minister has given a target of 500 billion of manufacturing output, which is from 150 to 500 in the next 5 years. So that's a big leap, and there is not a single person in the industry who doesn't believe that will happen. So that's the conviction and the passion which is currently on display and which is getting implemented. Uh, I think I'll now request Judy to please take over and speak about GSA.
Before Judy ma'am goes ahead, it's my privilege to introduce Judy ma'am to our audience today. So, ladies and gentlemen, ma'am, firstly, a warm welcome to Bengaluru. So, Ms. Jody is a co founder and CEO of GSA, a leading industry organization that represents 300 corporate members, including more than 120 public companies. GSA provides a unique, neutral platform for collaboration where global executives interface and innovate with peers, partners, and customers to accelerate industry growth and maximize return on invested and intellectual capital. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. It's really quite wonderful to be here and be back in India and to be in this beautiful city that I think represents the spirit of innovation and progress. And I'd like to thank our partners at ICEA. We're very excited about what the future holds for both of us. And to our distinguished guests, of course, the press in this room today, but also throughout the day, we have several different events with semiconductor leaders, government officials, and academia. So we're looking forward to the start of the conversation. So today marks not only an important milestone, I think, for GSA and ICEA, but also with global companies. At GSA, as our moderator suggested, GSA, we bring leaders together. So we bring the industry together and have been doing that for 30 years now. And the whole idea is to provide this neutral and unique platform where people can innovate, they can collaborate, and they can lead. And the whole goal of this has always been to create an efficient and profitable and sustainable industry. So we really believe that the semiconductor ecosystem spans quite a big arena. Okay, so it's systems, it's software, it's services, it's solutions, and of course, it's semiconductors. So when you look at our membership, for example, it includes the traditional IDMs of the world, it includes the traditional fabless companies and all of the partners, but it also includes those non-traditional companies that are creating a lot of hardware, companies like Google, companies like Amazon and Microsoft, and even companies like Tesla is a member and quite active within the GSA. So our executives come together to get together, obviously, with their competitors, their peers, their partners, and their customers. So that's what our members look to us for. So we do executive events all over the world, and India will be added to that. And again, the idea of maximizing the return on intellectual and invested capital is why collaboration is so important. We do have over 300 corporate members. We represent almost 90% of the nearly $700 billion industry, quickly going to $1 trillion. There's been estimates now that the semiconductor industry will now be over $1 trillion by 2030. And I think that in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have the talent in place, the partnerships in place. And so it's going to take all of us. This industry is collaborative by nature. And we started the global part of our organization back in about 2001, when we realized that if we wanted to really be the voice of the industry, we had to represent companies wherever they were. And so that our first move was to Taiwan once upon a time, and have it expanded from there. So through this partnership and close collaboration also with ISM, we're going to build bridges between India's domestic ecosystem and the global semiconductor value chain. And I think together we can help empower India's role within the semiconductor world. We envision a future where fabless companies can design in India, can test and package in India, and eventually scale in India. And we think that that broadens the opportunities for all companies, and it of course is a big opportunity for India to participate. And I also think the collaboration is about knowledge sharing, talent development, and leadership engagement. So that talent development being extremely important. When I bring together CEOs, one of their top 3 concerns are always about future talent, that there's just not enough of it in the US, in Europe. But even, I don't know about India. I think that we'll have the opportunity to talk more about it. But even in places like China, you think, okay, they're, developing all of these engineers. There's still not enough engineers being developed, even in China, to meet the demand. So I think that through many programs that we have, including our Global Talent Initiative, but also our Women's Leadership Initiative, which we started in 2019, which says that, okay, if we're ignoring 50% of the population, that's a good place to start. Okay, so in the U.S., for example, only about 15% of the technical talent at semiconductor companies come from women. So that's pretty low-lying fruit. I mean, we need to make sure that we're developing them at university, to make sure that they understand that there is an opportunity for a fabulous career in semiconductors. And then once they're in semiconductors, to figure out how to retain them and develop them and see them as future leaders, which we've done within our organization. And I can tell you it's been a huge success. And I think one of the highlights of my career, when we started the Women's Leadership Initiative, after having been in the industry for maybe 25 years, I knew maybe 10 women in the industry, maybe a few more than that. And so, it's because I'm with executives most of the time. You almost get used to being the only woman in the room, if not the only, maybe 2 or 3 women in the room. And so I just thought this is just a fact we have to live with. The truth is that although there aren't enough women in this industry, there are a lot of women in this industry, and they're incredibly talented. At this event that we just held in the US called WISH Women in Semiconductor Hardware, we had 1,000 women, and we sort of did a contest of who had the most patents, and I think the number 1 patent holder had something like 95 patents. And so there are a lot of talented women. We just need to give them a platform, show that they're there, give them a voice, develop them, make sure that they're leaders in the future, and that will help attract additional people to the industry. So we're very proud of the partnership that we're creating with ICEA, and they've done an incredible job in turning policy into progress and ambition into action. It's really been very impressive, and we're excited to start the new chapter with you and walk alongside and watch India's semiconductor growth story develop. And I think that we're going to talk about the event a little bit later in the press conference. But again, GSA is excited to be here. We represent many companies that are already in India, many multinational companies. I've worked with Dr. Randir, for many, many years. And so I was so excited to learn about his new role in India. And I think that there just couldn't be anyone better to lead the ambition of having manufacturing in India. I think that if it's going to happen, it can happen under Randir. So we're very excited to watch that progress. And that's my opening comments.
Thank you so much. Can we have a huge round of applause? So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's the milestone moment that we are going ahead. So we will now proceed to the signing of GSA and GSA ICEA Memorandum of Understanding. a milestone in enabling deeper collaboration between India and global semiconductor ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause. Thank you so much. I request both of you to please pose for a picture so that we keep this beautiful memory which goes down the memory lane. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for us to invite Ms. Shelton to formally make a critical announcement which promises to be a high impact platform for global industry, a policy dialogue.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the event. Yes, okay, so the GSA, one of the about 5 areas that we work in, or we create these very curated executive events. And they're really about thought leadership, essentially. And so we have executive forums in the US, in Europe, and in Taiwan every year. And then we have international summits that we've had in places like London, Egypt, as well as China. In fact, coming up in just a few weeks, we have an event in Taiwan, the APAC Executive Forum, and then the International Summit in China. And in addition to that, we have several technical events. So everything from an exact technology symposium to we actually have workshops on automotive and AI and several other areas. So we have been doing these types of events since the beginning of our existence back in 1994. And additionally, one of the big events that we do every year is the annual awards celebration, where we recognize companies and their progress, what they've achieved over the course of the year. And I was saying earlier that this event, it's a wonderful event. We try to cap it at about 1,500 people. I think we exceeded that last year, but we really tried to make sure that the key executives are at this event. And it's really interesting because, again, although it's an amazing event, it was really fun when it started, okay? Because we were the first organization, the first people to say, hey, you should be incredibly proud of what you're accomplishing every day by being in the semiconductor industry. What you're enabling may not be seen by the outside world, because up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago, right, no one knew what semiconductors were. No one really cared. If you were at a cocktail party and you said you were in semiconductors, the people's eyes glazed over and they usually walked away. And now it's like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening with Taiwan, what's happening with this, what's happening with that. So it's an incredibly exciting time to be in semiconductors, and you really get to feel that at the annual awards dinner that's coming up in December. So we would like to have an international summit in Delhi in 2026 and make sure that the executives around the world understand the opportunities that are in India for them to be a part of. Again, everything from design to eventually manufacturing, and make sure that the companies that are in India understand that there's a huge opportunity to be part of this bigger ecosystem. So whether it's small homegrown companies here or medium-sized companies, to make sure that they're plugging into the whole global system. We believe collaboration is very, very important. And we understand that over the course of the last few years, a lot of countries have become very regionalized and focused on, what they can do in semiconductors. And I think that that's sort of a natural evolution. But no company or country can do this alone. We have to work together. And I think that the GSA is the perfect voice for that. We continue to try to be the diplomats of the world, even when things are a little dicey between countries. We want to make sure that on a company level that people keep up the relationships, because they may not be partnering with a company today, but they may be tomorrow and they may have in the past. And so we think that that continues to be very important no matter what sort of the white noise is around the world. So that's we are going to be working on a date, but it will be in 2026, and we will have, again, invite our most important executives to be part of this and invite the important companies in India to be part of it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shelton. We are very excited for what the growth of semiconductor industry in India through ICEA and GSA collaboration. Thank you once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our keynote speaker, Mr. Amitesh Kumar Sinha. We would like to inform you that Mr. Sinha is delayed due to unavoidable commitments. He'll be joining us at the earliest. So, thank you for understanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, and our media friends, we are now open for questions.
Hi, my name is Suraksha. I'm from the Economic Times. Can you take us through the agenda for the CXO roundtable? I'm not sure if it's open to the press, but you have Mr. Randeep Thakur from Tata Electronics. You have the ISM CEO. Can you take us through the agenda for the CXO roundtable?
So typically at these roundtables, what we do is we ask someone to moderate and come up with a few questions, and then we ask people to make presentations that will stimulate the conversation. So there's no way really to know what will be discussed, and I don't think the press is allowed. It's very typical of GSA, these GSA roundtables, for people to be incredibly open about their business and about their challenges and about their opportunities. And the only way to do that, again, is for it to be very private and to know that that no one is going to be quoting anyone outside of that room. And that's really the way that the semiconductor industry works. I mean, in order for us to have real dialogue, needs to be in a safe environment. So I don't think that we're necessarily giving out the agenda, but we're going to talk about all the hot topics that I'm sure that you guys are concerned about, and all the opportunities to work together, and the different markets that are emerging and how we manage them and how we take advantage of them, as well as the many challenges that all the companies face. Again, whether it's on the political side or whether it's on markets slowing down, the EV market, and all these kinds of things that people are very concerned about. And when you look at semiconductors, I know that it's easy to get so excited that we're in this bull market and that everything is wonderful. And if you're kind of one of 5 or 6 companies in the semiconductor industry right now, you're partying hard. It's a great time, but there are a lot of challenges, and there are a lot of markets that have slowed down, and we have to figure out how to work through that together.
So less than 24 hours ago, President Trump threatened heightened tariffs on India above the 50% that is already levied. India does not export semiconductors as of yet. Our 2 fabs are under construction, 8 OSATs and 8 AMPs are still under construction. But we also understand that the Section 232 investigation is underway. But what is the potential impact that you see US tariffs will have on Indian exports of electronics, particularly phones, the growth that Mr. Mohindra was talking about?
So the way that I will answer this is just to say that the GSA is a very interesting organization. Unlike ICEA, we do not get involved at all in policy. So what that means is, we may have an opinion over here on the side about certain things, but the truth is that we let other organizations try to influence policy, because our members include Chinese members, Taiwanese members, European, Indian, the US. So who would we be promoting policy for? So if I was in Washington, D.C. trying to promote policy for US companies, am I doing that at the detriment to my Chinese members? And so we really do try to remain neutral and not take sides on this. And as you know, in the US, it's sort of day to day that we learn new things. So it's not just in India that you learn new things. We learn new things every day, depending upon the president's mood. But I can tell you that I certainly don't want to be in the bullseye of President Trump. And so we just try to lay low. I think that all of us would like to get to a place where countries are working together on a fair playing field. And we prior to Trump, prior to the first Trump administration, the U.S. and China had a pretty close relationship, but it wasn't a fair playing field necessarily, right? So I think that Trump came in the first time trying to make it a fair playing field, and then one thing leads to another, and here we are today. So we hope that we can get back to a more sane and rational way to deal with other countries, so that businesses profit. In the semiconductor industry, it is extremely important for companies to collaborate because there is only so much profit to go around. And all of the profit, not all of the profit, but a big amount of the profit, as you know, goes back into R&D. So if any company or country wants to stay ahead, they have to make those investments. The only way to make those investments is if you're profitable and if manufacturing is efficient. So we must have that. So we'll see how the more and more countries become regionalized, whether or not that efficiency can remain. But it is vital to the semiconductor industry for it to be profitable in order to invest in R&D.
So can you take this question perhaps? I think the ICEA in April this year had said that India is better off than its export rivals like China and Vietnam, but we can't say that anymore, can we?
No, so I think वो हिंदी में कहावत है ना कि दूसरे की चिता पे हाथ नहीं सेक सकते आप. I'll loosely translate to you. I mean, it's a little perverse that if there is a cremation, you can't warm your hands, but that's not the colloquial intent of this. So we are at the moment very deeply engaged in the conversations with the US. I think the government is very deeply engaged, and of course there are our very good friends in US who are working very closely to see that we have a rational solution to this. We are exempt from all these tariffs. Major part of the electronics is exempt, but that's not it. The tariffs are very unfair on certain industries, and I think you will find in the next 3 to 4 weeks some very interesting solutions and announcements. The 232 is not happening very aggressively at the moment, and there are, as Jody said, it's impossible to predict. I mean, I've been reading so much economics in the last 7-8 months, which I had never done after my MBA. So we are trying to understand as per the classic theories of economics, how these actions are working out. But I think both the practical view of this and the economic theories, this is not going to work. It's because, see, last almost 200 years, US has been the innovation hub of the world. Even when we graduated in plows, where I was teasing Jody that this one looks like a plow, and all the majority of the innovations of the world came from that country. And the DNA of innovation is so strong, and of absorbing technologies and sending technologies out. I think this is a temporary blip, and we should not be too concerned about it. Of course, everybody is concerned about it, but this is not the way the future is going to lie for us. I hope you are satisfied with my answer, or more confused.
Any more questions?
That was too easy.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you can continue more interactions during the networking lunch. So I request all of you to please join us for lunch and continue the conversations with our distinguished guest. And I'm sure Mr. Sinha also will be joining us soon. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
I also want to thank Tata and Cyient and Keynes, who have joined us today in this conference and in the lunch. We are very grateful for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.